Welcome to Rave Wave's Eyes on the Book Show. A quick reminder that September celebrates Labor Day, but also many other wonderful days like National Grandparents' Day, National Dance Day, National Punctuation Day, which is Nani's favorite. But pick a special day to celebrate while enjoying family and friends. I'm your host, Rox Berkey, broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas. Today's show is sponsored by Untitled, The Quotes Diary, Life in Quotes by author Nani Jules. If you'd like to know how to get your own commercial aired during one of our shows, just visit the Rave Waves tab on the RRBC website for information. It's a fantastic way to promote your books. Joining us today from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is our very own editor of RRBC's The Pipeline magazine, author Karen Black. Today, we are so fortunate to have an opportunity to discuss her recent short story release, A Wish and His Demand. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for Karen, I'll be opening the floor up for those questions or comments throughout the show. Your mics will remain muted until that time, and we ask that you please give us a little wave of your hand if you'd like to be recognized. At that time, you will be asked to unmute your mic. You may also access the chat function located at the bottom of your screen to type your questions or comments to us. So thank you for joining us today, Karen. I recently finished this story and I picked it up at our 7th annual Writers Conference and Book Expo here at RRBC. It's great to have a chance to discuss this story with you. However, before we do that, I want to step back just a little bit, if you don't mind. So, Karen, you have a fascinating background in criminal justice and education, as well as a passion for paranormal and supernatural. How did these elements help with your writing?
Well, the supernatural, of course, is not something that you can put your hands on. Anything legal or document-wise or law enforcement-wise is something that you can definitely put your hands on. So I think when I started writing, I didn't have a real direction, but I kind of took the real stuff and massaged it to make it magical. So that what I aim to do, and I want to say that I want my stories to be within the realm of possibility. Well, some of them are maybe a little outside the realm of possibility, but they're more contemporary than bizarre. At least I think they are. Understanding that I believe in supernatural and think ghosts are real, so my idea of reality might be different than some others. But you know, it was a matter of really just taking the imaginary, the elusive, combining it with the real and the solid, and trying to come up with something that was a little mysterious, that was entertaining, but that never turned out quite the way you would expect it. That there was always something that was just a little bit of a, oh, or oh my, or aha, or isn't that? So that's kind of where that went.
And you are awesome at creating the aha. Oh my.
Thank you,
I've oh my more than one of your stories. So like some of your other stories, this one has a very special cat. Did you pattern Odin after one of your furry friends?
Well, that's my Ivan. I actually, yes, here he is. I should bring him in here so he can meow at all of you. His name is Odin in the story, and his name is Simon in another story. But yes, I adore animals. I mean, I like dogs and cats and horses and birds and even skunks. We feed them peanuts. So most of my stories do have an animal in it. Sometimes the animal has a bigger part, but animals, you know, the ones I live with and the wildlife and the ones I used to have always been a big part of my life.
And I'll tell you, the behavior of Odin in this story is vividly described. So have you seen a similar response from one of your fur balls that you were able to articulate that so well?
Oh, absolutely. Ivan is a Devon Rex. And a Devon Rex is a cat that is really more dog-like than cat-like.
Okay.
I would prefer not to be without a dog, but I would never be without a cat. And some cats are very elusive and some cats are very mysterious. He can be elusive. Sometimes he's mysterious, but mainly he is interested in what you do. He's very in tune with what's going on. He talks in his own little way. He chirps and chortles. He listens to what you say. He jumps on your shoulder. So yes, Odin was definitely a part of my Ivan.
It is a really well described section in that story. So one of the things that struck me was Amanda. She's a very interesting character. She starts out when she's very, very young, and then grows up to a degree in the story. So I got to know, why did you choose the avenue you did for her profession? Because I really wanted to know more about her stories.
Why did I make her a writer?
Yeah.
Well, the story started with the premise of magic. Something magical had to happen. And she was watching the clouds, and I really wasn't even sure where it was going to go when I started it. It started out with a little girl on a picnic with her mom, looking at the clouds, saying, "Oh my goodness, look, there's a horse, there's a cat, look what the clouds can do." Well, then that kind of morphed into, wait, we could write a story. She could tell stories. She could be a child that makes up things. So where's that going to go? Well, that started moving. And then we found this dear little old lady who had a magic pen. We could write stories. And that's really how it evolved. I guess, as with most of them, I never really know where the story is going to go until I see where it takes me.
Oh, good. So the characters do tell you where to go. I'm glad to know that, Karen. So the surprising, and I think it's pronounced Zuror.
Zuror, yes.
Was an unexpected visitor. Where did you get the idea for him?
Ivan told me.
Oh. Okay.
Yes. Well, we needed, we got to the point where something had to happen. The story was moving on. Here she was. We needed some drama. We needed something to change. What could we do to introduce something to catch your attention and maybe bring it to a bit of a startling effect? And so Zuror was born.
Nice. He is deliciously vicious.
Isn't he horrible? And handsome. I mean, he's just this sexy monster. You see him and think, oh, take me to dinner and hold my hand, and yeah, but he's really not very nice.
So all of your books are filled with unexpected twists. How long did it take you to put this one together?
That's kind of a hard question. I actually started this story probably a year, even 2 years ago. And it was one that I went back in. I write a lot of things at the same time. I went in and found this, and I was basically at the point where Zuror had not yet been invented or created, and picked it up and read it and thought, okay, where does this need to go? So once I had him there, it probably took me a couple months to finalize it and get it done.
Well, it's absolutely stunning. So the other thing that's really interesting about this book is the cover, and it is so distinctive, and the elements of it are so targeted. Did you create this cover yourself, or do you have an artist that helps you? Where did this delightful cover come from?
The cover came. I wanted something that would describe the story on the cover. So we needed a typewriter. Now I know we use computers now, but typewriters are cool. So the typewriter, of course I wanted the cat, just because the pen, since there's a magic pen with an inkwell. So I found the crystal inkwell in the pen, and basically I got all these pictures together, and said, okay, let's create a cover.
Okay. So did you actually do it, or do you have someone else that helps you with that?
I do have someone that helps me, a graphic artist friend, and she was able to take all of the pieces and put them together.
Oh, good. Good, good, good. So do you have a favorite element of this story? We have the cat, we have the writer, we have the magical evil Zuror. So is there an element that you're like so proud is part of this story?
It's not really the highlight of the story, but I think my favorite part of the story is the relationship between Amanda and Jonah. They started as children.
Yeah.
They kind of were always there, but didn't know they were there. And it was just an example of, have you ever had a friend that you were very close to and maybe didn't talk to for months or years, maybe years, and you tie up again, and it's like, oh, we could have been together last week. That's kind of how I envision Amanda and Jonah, and that was one of my favorite parts of it.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about how that turned out. It was good. It was really good. So, you know, your books in many ways, they are all so very distinctive, and yet they seem to hit on all cylinders. You're a reader persona that you really try to focus on with your writing?
I've said this probably more times than people want to hear, but I am always totally delighted if someone enjoys something that I've written. So I think that I try to write stories that will capture the attention, that will overall be entertaining, and at some point make people smile. There are some that are not necessarily happy, but most of them are positive or have some positive message. I don't know that they all have a redeeming social value, but I'd like to think they're entertaining. And I mean, I guess it's just really, I want people to enjoy them, and I want them to say, oh, what a nice escape. What a pleasant way. It's like when you watch a good movie, I want them to think that they just had a nice experience.
And I think that comes through. So, you know, Pat put a very interesting question into the chat room that I really want to bring up because I think it makes a good point, and I appreciate it, Pat. Did you write up a character profile for each of the characters in your books, and how long did it take you to actually develop the plot?
Okay, I do not do a profile the way that you're supposed to do a profile. I basically, when I'm doing a character, I become the character. Okay, if I were in this situation, what would I do? Okay, if I were afraid of this guy or this girl or this animal, how would I react? If I was here and someone was coming after me and I had a dog by my side, what would that dog do? How would he react? So I try to, and again, that's when I say I draw on experience. I've been in a lot of situations over my life, and as we all have, and seen a lot. So when I'm developing a character or coming to a point that something needs to happen, I kind of put myself in that situation and look around and see what's happening. What would the reaction be? What would the person say? What would they do? How would they behave? So I guess, Pat, maybe that answers your question, sort of.
We have agreement. Yes, it answers it well. Thank you, Karen. And I appreciate you bringing that up, Pat. It was very nice of you. So Karen, how do you feel about reviews on your stories? I know that you're always happy when somebody enjoys it, but do you feel reviews are important ways for readers to communicate with you?
Yes and no. I don't publish something that I don't like. Okay, if I think that it tells what I want it to tell, then I'm going to put it out there. Yes, I do love good reviews. I also appreciate bad reviews. I don't love them, but yes, I mean, everyone is not going to like what I write, and I understand that. Of course, I read the RRBC reviews because they're always put on our page, on the member review page. So I see the rave review reviews, all of them that are put on the page. The other reviews I don't always see. I go in periodically and say, okay, let's look at some reviews and see what people have been saying. But I'm not someone that goes in and reads every review or checks them daily or weekly to see how people are liking them. Of course, I'd love to see 5 stars. Sometimes you see them and sometimes you don't. So I think I do, but let me take that and say, do I think reviews are important? Yes, I absolutely do. Yes, I absolutely do. And I get a lot of ratings on my books, but people don't review them. You know, how you can do a 1 to 5 star, but so I truly appreciate the time that people take to actually write a review, particularly when it's a good one. That always just makes my day.
So saying that, do you also leverage pieces of reviews like for your social media posts and you know, share them out again if it was something that was particularly good, crediting, of course, the author if you know them?
I have done that in the past. And it's funny that you say that because I recently got a couple of editorial reviews and I thought, you know, I have some reviews on different books. I don't think that I have very many on this one, but on some past books. And some of them, one in particular, was written by an author of an incredible series. And I'm thinking about using her review as an editorial review, simply because it was beautifully written. It was also very nice. She definitely enjoyed the story. And yes, so it's something that I've done in the past. I've done some ads that say, you know, have a little blurb and somebody's name, but I've recently gotten interested in the editorial review part. And I'm just surprised you brought that up because I've just been doing that this past week. So yeah.
It's this.
Well, it's the psychic. Yes, yes. I knew you were going to ask me that question and wanted to be prepared. That must be it.
And certainly there's comments going in the chat with regards to having fair and honest reviews. And those are the most important things to have.
Sure.
Spearheaded that, and Wanda commented about that. And I think everybody on here would certainly agree with that.
Oh, yeah. And everybody's not going to write everyone's not going to like everything that someone writes. And I understand that. You know, it is what it is.
It is. And there are also mean-spirited people that write nasty things just because they can. So it definitely goes both ways.
It does. It does.
Other stories where I've posted a review and I'm looking at some of the, just for fun, I look at some of the other reviews as I'm posting my review. I'm like, holy moly, I don't think that person read the same book I read because.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have thick skin, you should not publish something publicly. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if you've ever been to a casino, but my theory about casinos is go and have a good time. But if you're going thinking you're going to win, don't go. If you're going to write a book thinking that it's going to be a bestseller and everybody's going to love it, don't do it because you're going to go into a deep state of depression. Everyone is not going to love it. You are probably not going to be a bestseller. You might, but do it for the love of writing. And I think just for me, it's the delight that someone actually enjoys the story. I'm just and that they would pick up one of my books when there's so many they can choose from. You know, I just so appreciate that.
Well, and I think when people find an author that they like and appreciate, they're going to go after those books, you know, more and more often. What I think is interesting on this topic is that, you know, everybody is going to read a book and get their own sense from it. So, you know, for example, you and I could read exactly the same book. We could both enjoy it, but we could write very different things about it. We could
certainly
very, very differently. So now the best part. I mean, you released 2 books pretty recently. What else do we get from you and when?
Well, I have another short story. It's really a novelette. It's bigger than a short story, shorter than a novel, called Elusive Guardians. And it is coming out the 19th of this month. It's released. It's on sale for 99 cents. And I also just yesterday put my next novel on pre-release for November 13th, Deadly Repercussions, which I'm real excited about. I've gotten some reviews, some editorial reviews that are decent, and they make me smile, which is another reason I'll be looking to advertise some of those. But yeah, that's what's going on, and I'm working on a couple of others. Vindictive Angel recently came out, and I bet half a dozen people said you must turn that into a novel. And I love Julie in that book, so I think Julie and I are going to spend some time over the winter, and we'll be heading in that direction. So I've got several projects going and a couple of new releases coming out, and yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun.
I think that's really exciting, and
it is exciting.
I've pre-ordered Elusive Guardian, and so that's going on. And we got Pat saying Julie keeps her freedom. Let's go. All right, so since we have that, before we kind of wind this down a little bit, are there any questions from our wonderful gallery that we need to let you guys go ahead and ask Miss Karen? Don't be shy. This is not a shy group.
Could you put into the chat the name of the 2 new books from Karen that are going to come out soon?
Yeah, the names of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them is Elusive Guardians. Here, I can give you, here's a
okay.
proof copy. It's the text will be a little different. And Deadly Repercussions is the other one. And again, these are proof copies, but it gives you a sense of what it'll be. Elusive Guardians, which is my Bigfoot baby. It's such a fun story. That's coming out the 15th of this month. And Deadly is coming out. The release date on that is November 13th. So I'm nervous about the novel, of course, because it's big. But I'm excited. So that's where we are.
It will be.
Thank you for asking, Pat.
Yeah, thank you.
That.
Patty, did you have a question? You unmuted, ma'am.
Not a question as much as just a comment about this story in particular, but also about Karen's writings in general. I absolutely love your writings.
Oh, Patty, thank you.
All the books that I've read by you, I have not been very diligent about writing reviews, but it's on my to-do list just about every day, but kind of ends up down at the bottom because of a lot of things. But just wanted you to know that I really love this story. I love the way that you kind of set the atmosphere at the fair with little things like the way a breeze, kind of twisted little twister and just tiny details.
I love county fairs.
Yeah, well, you can tell. You can tell. I mean, you really set the setting really well. So, just wanted to let you know that your story was fascinating, and I love the cat's reaction because I've had cats that react.
Then
that way. Yeah, they react that way. We lived in houses that had cold corners and strange places and certain things happening, and the cats always knew. They always knew.
Yeah. Oh,
and they always reacted. So I thought it was great that you had the cat, in the story and the reaction. And I love the ending. It was just such a sweet ending.
Did you? I just wasn't sure how about the ending. I'm so glad you told me that. No one else has mentioned the ending, and I'm glad you just made my day.
Well, you made mine when you wrote the story.
Oh, thank you.
Karen, you are a valued member of the RRBC family and the very exclusive RISA. You're also now a lifetime member of this amazing organization. What brought you to this awesome group?
I joined this club the year that it was established, and I was not very active. I was on the tweet support team and tried to do a few things, but I really didn't understand all the nuances of the internet and the way everything worked for a virtual club. Some things happened that I had to kind of back away from a lot of issues. And one of the things that I backed away from, among other clubs, was RRBC. So I left for, I guess, a year or two. And when things got settled and I was ready to start writing again, I joined again. And this time learned more. Of course, I had learned more about the internet, but I learned more about how everything works. There's so much information. And when you go to the website, to the RRBC site, you really need to spend some time exploring. And then Nani did some kind of an introduction or something that this was a couple of years ago, to show everyone how it worked, how you go, where you go for what, and what to do with all the links and the purpose. And that was extremely helpful. And from that point, it was like, wow, this is my home. I joined RISA, was very excited about that. And I had been having some trouble with descriptions. And in my past life, I did a lot of contracts and a lot of negotiation and a lot of writing, which was just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. So I was struggling with characters and with conversation. And it was RISA that turned the light on, that was, wait a minute, you don't have to tell just the facts. You need to tell the whole story. You need to tell where it is, why it is, and how they're feeling about it. And that's why I was struggling. I was fighting with the contract mentality as opposed to the story mentality. So that just changed so many things for me. And it's Rave Review. And when the position came open for the magazine, the Pipeline magazine, which I have loved for years, again, in a past life, I edited a newsletter back when they did mimeographs. Yes, I'm that old. And you could smell the mimeograph ink, and we used real typewriters. So I had some experience, even though it was in the old days, and was very happy to join the team. And so, it's just kind of, yeah, it's a big part of my life, the club and the members. I love the members. You included are at the top of my list. So much support, friendly, helpful, encouraging. You can't find a better group of people.
It is a good group of people. You're right about that.
Oh, yes.
What is your favorite thing to do in your free time?
Well, I spend way too much time watching hummingbirds in the summer.
Oh,
I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of interaction with the animals, with indoor and outdoor. We have some wildlife around here, and we have rabbits that have learned when you go, apples, baby, they actually will come. You can't touch them, they're wild, but they'll come and wait, and we can throw them apples and watch them eat apples. We did have some skunks that were coming around at night. We would put some peanuts out, and they would come, and you could hear them crunching on the peanuts. We were very quiet and very careful when they got close, but still, skunks are critters too, So I think in my free time, I'm writing, playing with the critters, hanging out, being old folks with my husband. We do a lot of wine and cheese. We do little parties, our own little get-togethers, hanging out with the kids once in a while, and just nothing too exciting. I don't travel anymore. I don't want to travel. Everything that we have is right here. So I'm just very content being home and being old folks.
Nice. I don't think you're old, but that's okay.
Bless you, darling.
Lots of people chiming in that wine and cheese is right up there, and I would have to
yeah,
that as well.
Yes. Wino would be a word to describe me, and not offensively. I would accept being a wino.
Why no?
That's okay.
So what is one bit of advice that you would give to up-and-coming writers?
Write for yourself first. Write something that you want to write, that you enjoy, that you think is good. Don't let someone tell you what you should be writing. And then along with that, after you do it, reread it 25 times, then let it sit, go away from it for a month and go back to it and fix it. That's more than one piece of advice, but it kind of all goes together.
No, it works. It's like wine. You know, you
yeah.
Well,
yeah. Yes.
Do we have any other questions or comments from our illustrious Wino?
I prefer Cabernet and Bordeaux to white, if anyone's wondering about that.
I saw Charles on here. I think Charles might chime in with you on the red wines.
Yeah.
So Karen, we are just about out of time. I really want to thank you for joining us here today on Eyes on the Book and allowing us to get to know you better. Always a treat, as well as sharing your unique story with us. Once again, today's sponsor is Untitled, The Quotes Diary, Life in Quotes. To my studio audience, you make these shows so extra special. So thank you for joining me here today. Remember, if you miss a live show, you can always find each and every episode in the archives of the RRBC site. To all the authors and readers out there, enjoy your time with family and friends as the world continues to open up. Fall is right around the corner, followed by the holidays. Be safe, be kind, be nice, and be mindful of those around you. I am your host, Rox Berkey, thanking you for joining us on another episode of Eyes on the Book, a Rave Waves production. Be sure to join us next time on another episode of Rave Waves, where all things literary are our passion. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep your eyes on the book.